that hell was a real place, although not what you might think. Hell solved. As you may know by now, I like to look at everything. In this case, I'll first look at where hell was first mentioned, why and by whom. Then I'll look into what other cultures around the world had the concept of hell. Then with evidence, I'll be able to show you where they all got the idea of hell from and what it really was. Remember, no other researcher has ever done this with the same answers and evidence as this video. Sorry, just a bit of self-praise for myself. Enough chat, let's start.
The concept of hell as a place of punishment for the wicked after death has ancient origins and varies significantly across different cultures and religions. Here's an overview of its first mentions in several major traditions. One of the earliest mentions of an underworld appears in ancient Mesopotamian mythology. The Sumerians spoke of a netherworld called Kur, or Ekala, where the dead would go regardless of their deeds in life. This underworld was ruled by the goddess Ereshkigal. Ancient Egypt, the Duat. In Egyptian mythology, the Duat is the realm of the dead. It is not explicitly a place of punishment, but it involves a journey where the dead face various challenges and judgments. The concept is detailed in texts such as the Book of the Dead, ancient Greece Hades. The Greek concept of the underworld, Hades, is mentioned in Homer's epics, 8th century BCE. It is ruled by the god Hades and is a place where souls of the dead reside. Tartarus, a deeper part of Hades, is where the wicked are punished. Ancient Judaism Sheol. In the Hebrew Bible, Old Testament, Sheol is mentioned as a place where the dead reside, often described as a shadowy and silent pit or abyss. It is not initially depicted as a place of punishment, but rather a neutral place where all the dead go. Over time, the concept evolved, and by the intertestamental period between the Old and New Testaments, ideas about different fates for the righteous and wicked began to emerge. Christianity. The New Testament, particularly the teachings of Jesus, introduces the concept of Gehenna as a place of fiery punishment for the wicked, e.g., Matthew 5:22, 10:28. This term is derived from the Valley of Hinnom near Jerusalem, which was associated with child sacrifice and later became a metaphor for hell. Islam Quran. In Islam, hell is referred to as Jahannam, a place of severe punishment and suffering for sinners and non-believers. The Quran contains numerous references to Jahannam, e.g., Surah 456, 1543, 44. Hinduism and Buddhism. Naraka. In Hinduism, Naraka is a place of torment for sinners. It is described in texts like the Puranas. In Buddhism, Naraka is also a realm of suffering, part of the cycle of samsara, the cycle of birth, death, and rebirth. Zoroastrianism, hell and judgment. Zoroastrianism, an ancient pre-Islamic religion of Persia, describes a form of hell. The wicked are said to be punished in a place of torment after death, as mentioned in the Avesta, the holy scriptures of Zoroastrianism.
I'm sure you are like me in that if something is first, then the chances are it is the correct one. For example, in the case of God. The reason why I bring God into this is because some people have said God will send you to hell if you are bad. So let's look in order of the first mentions of God. Remember, I believe the first of something is normally the correct version, and anything after is a copy of the original. Sumerians, c. 3500, 3000 BCE. Ancient Egypt, c. 3100 BCE. Indus Valley Civilization, c. 2500, 1900 BCE. Akkadian, c. 2334-2154 BCE. Ancient China, Shang Dynasty, c. 646 BCE. Ancient Greece, Mycenaean Civilization, c. 1600, 1100 BCE. Hittites, c. 1600, 178 BCE. Hebrews, Ancient Israel, c. 1200, 1000 BCE. Vedic Civilization, Ancient India, c. 1500, 500 BCE. Ancient Persia, Zoroastrianism, c. 1600 BCE. Olmecs, Mesoamerica, c. 1400, 400 BCE. Ancient Rome, early kingdom period, c. 753-509 BCE. Christianity, c. 1st century CE. Catholicism, c. 4th century CE. Distinct establishment as Roman Catholic Church. Islam, c. 610 CE. Latter-day Saint movement, Mormonism, c. 1820s CE. Several of the gods or religious figures from the list have teachings that emphasize exclusive worship or the rejection of other gods. Here are a few notable examples. Yahweh, Hebrews, Ancient Israel. The Hebrew Bible, Old Testament, contains numerous commands from Yahweh stating that the Israelites should worship no other gods. Notably, the first commandment in the 10 Commandments, Exodus 23, is, "You shall have no other gods before me." Ahura Mazda, Zoroastrianism. Zoroaster, Zarathustra, the prophet of Zoroastrianism, taught that Ahura Mazda is the supreme and only God worthy of worship. The religion emphasizes the rejection of devas, false gods or demons. God, Allah, Islam. In Islam, Allah is the singular and only God. The central tenet of Islam is Tawheed, the oneness of God, and the Quran repeatedly states that there are no gods but Allah. For example, Surah Al-Ikhlas, 112:1-4, declares the oneness of God, and Surah Al-Baqarah 2:163 says, "And your God is one God. There is no deity worthy of worship except Him, the entirely merciful, the especially merciful." God, Christianity. In Christianity, particularly as taught by Jesus and His apostles, there is a strong emphasis on the worship of the one true God. The New Testament reiterates the command to worship only God, as seen in passages like Matthew 4:10, where Jesus says, "You shall worship the Lord your God, and Him only shall you serve." Christianity, emerging from Jewish monotheism, continues the tradition of exclusive worship. Can you see the inconsistency there? Many later gods are claiming to be the first and only God. Let's take a moment to look at this. Use logic. Sumerians, ancient Egypt, Indus Valley Civilization, Akkadians, ancient China, ancient Greece, Hittites, never had any god saying they are the only God and that all and others are fake? Why do you think that is? It goes back to the original being correct. The Anunnaki were the gods. Their race name is God. I have proven that with evidence. Feel free to watch my amazing documentary called The Lost Book of Our True History. It's on my website, Our True History. Do you think any God that created men would allow people to worship fake gods, even thought he was talking to us since the start of man, Homo sapien? Think about it. An almighty being creates us and tells us to worship him, and the first thing us humans do is build temple for the Anunnaki. That is a fact. Enki, Enlil, Nana, Ninurta, and many others all had the first temples. Do you think an almighty being would then let other cultures make up fake gods, then worship fake gods, then way later pop in and tell people you are worshiping the wrong God? If you do worship the wrong God, then go to hell. Christianity. The New Testament includes teachings that suggest those who do not believe in and follow Jesus Christ will face eternal punishment in hell. Islam. The Quran explicitly states that those who do not believe in Allah and follow the teachings of Islam will be punished in hell. The simple solution to God's problem of humans worshiping or not even believing in Him would be to show yourself, do one magic trick, perform a miracle, take your lapis lazuli throne, and parade around with it. But no, of course, He done none of these simple things, because God were the Anunnaki. And yes, Enlil, the Anunnaki god, also called the Most High, had a lapis lazuli throne just like God did.
So where does that leave us? With regards to hell? Well, we know that the Anunnaki gods called space heaven and that no humans that die go there. What about hell? There is no point in looking into anything other than the Anunnaki gods' version of hell. Everything that came after is based off the Sumerian texts for hell, but not just Sumerian. I'll explain later about other cultures that are the Anunnaki talking about the same hell. Is hell real? Yes, there was a place that we would call hell, but it wasn't called that back then. In Mesopotamian stories, the underworld is called Kur or Irkala.
To watch the full 40-minute documentary, please visit ourtruehistory.co.uk.